Ladies and gentlemen, we will welcome you here to Singapore. It's the 15th round of F1 2020's XRL X3 division. The season is now coming to its end game, but I've got to be honest, it may be coming to its end game, but the racing doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon, or at least the quality of the racing doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon. We had a surprise winner last week at Monza out of the Scuderia Ferrari camp, a team that for most part of the year has been languishing in the back of the field. But now we're coming to Singapore. It's a night race, and the word that we're getting from above is that there is a high probability of rain throughout the race and peeping up during qualifying. Real quickly, go show you the driver lineup for the Mercedes team. It's XRL Snake and XXX Fuchs XXX with Smish and Turbo representing Ferrari. Red Bull Aston Martin has Whippy and Patriot on them, while McLaren is being represented by Stumpy and Wavy E. Renault has Tino Farr in 1998 returning with XRL Herbie. In the AlphaTauri Honda team, it's Fratters and XRL Fritz. The Racing Point team has Retro XC and Find Waldo once again jumping into it. In Alfa Romeo, it's XRL Cargo and Atui. Haas has Boothby and VPOZR coming in. This is VPOZER. I'm not sure how to say that. Vaposer. I'll go with that. This is Vaposer's first appearance in XRL X3. And then the Williams team, you have LDT, Davi, and Schold representing the Williams team. And that is your full field, a full 20 cars lined up here for tonight's race at Singapore. We should be getting underway relatively shortly here. Of note, this is a real quick lookout. It's another street circuit. It's been a little while since we've been to a street circuit, but we're going to be looking at a potential wet race. It's a 23-turn track with a lap record of 141.9. No one's really expecting that record to be broken, at least not today. However, it's considered one of the more difficult, more treacherous tracks on the calendar, coming in at about 3.14 miles. Stand by as we wait to get underway here at Singapore. Again, per usual, it's going to be the normal way we set up qualifying, where you're going to have 18 minutes for the first stage with all 20 drivers. The top 15 migrate into Q2. Q2 is where you decide the tire setup for the race itself, and in Q2, the top 10 drivers advance to Q1. In Q1, it's a 12-minute shootout to see who is the absolute fastest over the entire period of time to get the overall pole for the event. Real quickly, I'm going to try and bring up the points here real quickly for the XRL X3 Championship. So anyways, within the standings, when it comes to the manufacturer's team, the Haas F1 team has dropped to 10th. They're just 2 points out from Scuderia Ferrari Mission Winnow, as Ferrari's team is now... One second, need to take care of something. Sorry, having a little bit of microphone interference I needed to take care of. Anyways, within the Manufacturers' Points Championship, Haas F1 has now dropped to the back of the grid. They only have 61 points total, 2 points out from Mission Winnow, Scuderia Ferrari. The win and 6th place finish at Monza really helped them a lot. Renault has slipped to 8th in the point standings with only 73 points. Just ahead of them by 3 is Williams with 76. The Red Bull team has begun to show its true colors throughout the midpoint of the season. They have brought themselves up to 103 points. They're 6th in the scores overall. They're 13 points out of their fellow Honda Red Bull teams. The Scuderia AlphaTauri Honda, they have 116 points. For the McLaren F1 team, it's 146 points. And for Racing Point, 3rd in the Constructors' Championship, it's 235. They're standing just 7 points out from the Mercedes team, which has 242. But the real story is, with Mercedes collapsing in the mid part of the season, Alfa Romeo's team has now opened up a gap in the manufacturers' points. They have 282 points. Real quickly, as we go ahead and look at the Drivers' Championship, things are getting really interesting. Both Alfa Romeos had a chance to make up great ground throughout the day, but neither of them ended up finishing the race, let alone finishing in points, while Retro, although he didn't bring home any significant haul of points, the fact that he brought points at all home was significant for him. He is now staying with 123 points at the top of the game. He is Yeah, excuse me. He has 4 points over XRL Cargo in the Alfa Romeo. XRL Snake rebounded just a little bit. He has brought his Mercedes back up into third in the point standings. He's only 1 point over Audui, who had a really early DNF at Monza. Excuse me. We are already looking at weather qualifying, so we won't see much DRS. We're going to see some very slow times here. It's all going to be about controlling the car more than anything else. Anyways, back to the point standings. Outside fourth, it's a massive jump down until you get to fifth in points. XRL Fritz has 54 points, who's just 1 point ahead of Fine Waldo in the other racing point. Carlos Jackson, the McLaren, has 44 points, 2 ahead of WCD Hubert, who's going to miss another race. Scholl is currently sitting with 33 points in the Williams team, followed by XRL Smish in the Ferrari. Smish is celebrating his victory after earning 25 points during the Monza race last week. That vaulted him above XRL Whippy, who also had a decent start at least at Monza. Him in the Red Bull, he has 11 on the standings with 24 points. 19th on the points sheet is XRL Turbo. I'm sorry, 12th on the point sheet is XRL Turbo with 19 points. XXX Bucks XXX has 17 points in the other Mercedes. 14th is only 6 points. It's XRL Patriot, XRL Stumpy, and Fratters are tied for 15th, 16th points with 4 each. And then XRL Herbie, Tino Farr 1998, Boothie 116, and Constant Jet 1141 all have yet to actually set their first points of the season. And with the season wrapping up sooner rather than later, they might want to start making something happen to get those points. Anyways, one of the first drivers out into the track is going to be the Williams of Scholl. You see he's already navigating some of the tighter corners here. Flat track, street circuit, very difficult to keep it off the wall throughout practice over this entire week, honestly. A lot of drivers have been complaining about being able to keep their cars off the wall, even in nominally dry conditions, let alone these wet conditions that we're going to see here. Everyone's running full wet weather tires. The track, for the moment at least, is completely soaked. The interesting thing is going to be, if the track ends up drying up at all, coming towards the end of any of these qualifying sessions, we could see a crazy shakeup with how everything goes here. This is XRL Stumpy, right in the McLaren camp. This is a little bit farther back. Retroxy. Ooh, Retro really having some trouble keeping the car on the track, but he slides it just at the right angle so that way he ends up facing the proper way once he gets out of the corner there. There's XXX Books, who is now beginning his migration out of the pit lane. It's not letting me change camera at all. Oh, there we are. And we have a yellow flag in Sector 3 after one of the McLarens went ahead and pulled over for a brief moment. Here are XRL Turbo and XRL Smish. These two, the the most successful team last week. In fact, Smish is about to end his lap, so we'll just go silent on our end, spin an entire lap on board the Ferrari of XRL Smish, see what full lap is last for in the wet. Excellent save from Fratters there in Sector 2. We're right on board with him as he looped it around. Sorry for the extended period of dead air. Trying to take care of some other things right now. Scholl has gone ahead and retired from the session. I'm guessing he's serving a qualifying man because I did not see the car get damaged anywhere on the track. But Retro XC, XRL Herbie, and XRL Picture are the first drivers to set a time right now. Fratters is still on a technically green lap, so he will set a time, although with that little spin he had earlier, it's definitely going to be a little bit of a rough time of it, to say the least. Through the tunnel section, track's a little bit drier there. Rain's not pelting down directly onto that section of the track. Instead, it's just kind of rolling off there from the other wet sections which aren't covered. Makes for an interesting variance when it comes to track grip. But as Fratters comes out of that final corner, 2:08.716, it's comparable in time to Patriot. So I wonder if Patriot also had a little scenario where he had to lose control of the car and stop chasing time and start chasing the car. Stumpy at the top with 159.977, and Ottaway is going to get really aggressive. Oh, and Smish now goes to the top. The Ferrari once again to the top of the timesheet, 158.970. Ottaway and now Fine Waldo are both on pit lane, and they're looking to swap to the intermediate tires. Tires are a little bit faster, but they're going to have significantly less grip in these heavy weather conditions. But if they can make it work, they could easily rip off a bunch of time and start crunching the rest of the drivers here. This is XRL Cargo, the Alfa Romeo. Trying to make something happen here. Oh, and that's one of the Haas's in the back there. That was Boothie, I believe, who nearly went off circuit. He's back on, and something has come off of that car. He's run over a piece of car from somebody, that's for sure. Little bits of debris all over the track. Fritz has now set a time, although that car doesn't look like he's very happy with it right now, but he has set a time, 2:15.143. He's really going to need to improve on that if he wants to make it to the next round. We still have 8 drivers who have yet to set a lap, but again, Scholl is not going to set a lap. I believe he is serving a qualifying ban for today's event. No, this is Boothie. He's one of the few drivers who have not set a time yet. Retro now goes to the top, 158.718. Still, for the moment, full wets are their tire compound of choice for everyone, although Fine Waldo is now beginning his outlap on intermediate tires. This is going to get really interesting really fast for him. He does have his teammate Retro ahead of him, but considering how wet the track is, I don't really think getting a draft is going to be of significant importance. This is one of the 2 straightaways where you can get that optimal draft, so Waldo going to go ahead, zoom by his teammate. But again, considering how wet it is, I think control of the car through the corners is going to be more important than just being the fastest in a straight line. LDT Davi, he's spent a decent amount of time out here, but he's not set a lap yet, although he is going through Sector 3 right now. It's a struggle, but he does seem to have a really, really loose setup on that car. But if he can keep it out of the wall, he's on track, literally, to get a clean lap. But the question, of course, will it be a competitive clean lap? Oh, and he's going to spin it around, and he's going to nose the wall. The lap is still technically clean, though. But he has damaged the front wing of that car. The setup on the Williams is really, really tail happy. And he's going to abort the lap, I believe. Yes, he will abort the lap and go ahead and duck into the pit lane. This is XRL Snake, one of the Mercedes, driving that number 46 here. One of the Haas's, that is V Poser, is out there behind him and ahead of him. He's got one of the Ferraris. As I don't know if that's Cargo or Smish. That's Turbo, actually. Yeah, it's Turbo who's ahead of him. Turbo, though, is likely going to start wheeling it down. He's already been out there for 3 laps. Just a little over 6 minutes left in the session, and we still only have 12 drivers who have set time. 7 more have yet to set a time. So the struggle seems to be, for a lot of drivers, just getting a clean lap more than actually getting a competitive lap. But for drivers like RetroXE, Smish, Wavy, and Stumpy, all of them breaking the 2-minute mark in the wet, it's going to be looking very good for them and their chances to migrate into Q2. A purple Sector 2, 117.782 for XRL Snake that time by. This is Find Waldo now we're looking at. He's one of the drivers who have opted to swap into the intermediates. He is being joined with Atui, and Davi is apparently in the pits doing the same thing, as is Boothie, but Waldo is the first person actually on the track running with them right now. The question is going to be, will he gain enough time to not only set a time period, obviously, but to set a competitive time compared to everyone else. RetroXE and XR Whipping are both in the pits, and they are apparently swapping onto intermediates, but Snake goes to the top 158.699. He's still on the wet, so for the moment, the wets are king, but we're going to see from Waldo here in about a minute's time if they're really keen over the intermediates or not. Less than 5 minutes left in the session. And for drivers like V Poser, everything's going to hinge on this. If you see Find Waldo pulling out a good competitive time with the intermediates, you need to immediately jump in, swap into the intermediates, and get out there fast. There's not going to be a whole lot of time that you can spend. You're going to have to go for one fast lap on the intermediates if you want to make it into Q2. Coming out of that final corner, the moment of truth. Find Waldo on the intermediate tire. He is going to set a massive time of 158.472. It is considerably massive. Sets him right to the top by about 0.2 of a second. And honestly, there's more time out there. I think the track is drying out just enough that people could go ahead and move to full intermediates. Here's Davi. He's on that lap on intermediates. Cargo will be coming out shortly on intermediates as well. Boothie is running the intermediate tires as well. V Poser, he has no choice. He's going to have to abandon this lap and jump into intermediates. Otherwise, the times he's going to set are not going to be competitive. Atui is out there on the intermediate tire compounds as well right now. Fritz is still in the pits, but he has swapped over to the intermediates. He's going to have just enough time for one flying lap. For Fratters, he has set a time, but it was significantly earlier in the session. It's 8 minutes. It's close to 10 seconds, actually, off of what the leaders are saying. He needs to come in. He needs to swap into the intermediates. He needs to do it now. Patriot is in the exact same scenario in the Red Bull. For Turbo, it's going to be really close as well. He's on the intermediates. He's going to be coming out sooner rather than later, I hope. Books is on the intermediates as well, and he has gained his outlap. And if the intermediates are really fast enough, we could see a lot of drivers who we thought were going to be locked in to get knocked out of Q2 by virtue. Get knocked out of Q2 just by virtue. Oh, and that's one of the Red Bulls, and that's Patriot. Patriot on the full wets has gone around there, and that is turn just outside of turn 3, and there is damage to the front nose of that car. This is not looking good for the Red Bull, and it's a really, really difficult section of track to get turned around at. He is finally getting going again, but there's significant front wing damage. He's going to have to make it all the way around the track. And with that in mind, not only is he going to have to make it all the way around the track, he'll have to come in and repair the wing. I think Patriot's qualifying attempts are over. Patriot, I think we can pretty much say for certain, is not going to make it to the next round unless a bunch of drivers aren't able to set a time period. Atui now goes to the top, 157.565. The track is getting fast, and it's getting fast in a hurry. This is V Poser. He is still on the full wet tire compounds, but with 2 minutes and some change left, this is not going to look good for him. He's going to have to stay out and just hope that this time he sets will be good enough. He bounces off the outside wall there. No damage to the car as far as I can tell. He's pulling it into the pits. He's abandoning it. But with only 2 minutes left in the session, I don't think V Poser is going to have a chance to set a time whatsoever. This is his teammate Boothie in the Haas as he navigates the hairpin. And now in Sector 2, about exit Sector 2 now, him, Cargo, and Davi are going to be interesting ones. Davi has had, and that's that's Fritz! Fritz has come nearly to a dead stop in front of the Merc of XXX Books. There's damage on Fritz's car, and he's going to make a little bit of contact with Books back there. Cargo will have just enough time to set one flying lap. A lot of drivers going to try and make something crazy happen. For someone like Tino Farah, this is the worst case scenario. Davi to the top, 156.908. But he will probably be joined up there shortly by other drivers, including Boothie. He will be the next driver to cross the line. Coming out of that final corner, Boothie will come across to fourth with a 158.633. Cargo is the only car on track who has yet to set a time. He's still in Sector 2. This is Patriot with that damaged wing. He is coming into the pits. His qualifying chances over. Turbo is trying desperately to make it to the start-finish line in time so that way he can have one lap that he can try and set. This is Books. Books, he's on his flying lap in Sector 2 right now. Tino Farah has invalidated current lap right now on the full wet tires. I don't think it's going to look good for Tino Farah unless he can really pull off some massive speed with the full wets here. Coming across the line, gaining the next lap, this is teammate Herbie. Herbie has already adapted to the intermediate compounds, right up to third, 157.641. Here comes Fritz. No, that's not Fritz, it's Fratters. Here comes Fratters at the line. That for an outlap was a 208.717. He will have time to set this lap. Cargo, this is going to be very, very difficult for him. Time's going to be up. As long as he can keep it out of the wall, this is it. This will be the only serious time he's going to set. It better be a good one. Coming to the line, 56.947. Boy, is it a good time. That's good enough for second. And for V-Pauser, no timeout will be set at all. Fritz is in the hot seat, Fratters in the hot seat, and Patriot is going to be knocked out of the session. Turbo is also in the hot seat on the intermediates as well, but he's already entered Sector 2. He's actually coming real close to the end of it here. Davi now to the top, 154.969, and he's going to be joined up there at the top by Booked, 156.990. Here comes one of the Red Bulls. That's going to be Whippy. He's abandoning his lap after being 2.3 seconds down. When it comes to the Haas, we have Boothie, who is still out on track. He will be the next driver to cross the line, but he's going to be doing it in the pits. So Wavy E at the line, he's invalidated his lap despite picking up a lot of time. It's looking like he'll still make it, though. For Fratters and Fritz, it's going to be game time. Fritz is pulling into the pits. There is damage on the front nose of that car. He is not going to make it. Whippy has retired from the session from the damage that that car has taken, and now Fratters is going to loop it around and damage the front nose of that car. Both AlphaTauris having significant problems here. RetroXC now goes up to second with the 156.398. Here comes Turbo. Turbo at the line. He's going to pull himself off the hot seat. He is 14th with a 2-minute .3. Tino Farah, slow in Sector 3. There is no fuel left in that car. As for Herbie, the teammate, Herbie's going to have to pull in. What about Ottawi? Ottawi is coming through the final sectors right now, but the time is way off. Ottawi's not going to improve. The good news for him, though, he's pretty much already locked himself in. Fratters is coming around the final corners right now. Significant front wing damage, barely keeps it off the wall. He will not improve on his time, so neither AlphaTauri car will advance to the next round. And with Fratters crossing the line, every single driver has set a time and has finished. And for Whippy, he retires coming into the pits. Good news for him, and good news for the Ferraris. Both Ferraris make it in, but horrible, horrible news for the AlphaTauris, as neither of them are able to adapt to the track conditions. They both spin out multiple times and will not migrate into Q2. And for the Williams, it's a tale of feast and famine, with Schold serving a qualifying ban, not saying a single lap time, and Davi going right to the top with the fastest time overall, 154.969 here at Singapore. Outstanding run by Davi, and with the entire event expected to be in the wet, this could be good. However, we saw Davi was having a lot of trouble with rear stability in the full rain, and it wasn't until he swapped to the intermediates that his ability and pace really started showing. So I'd be very curious to see what he's going to be able to do in the race itself. But here's the results. Davi in the Williams, Retro in the Racing Point, Books in the Mercedes, Cargo in the Alfa Romeo, Stumpy in the McLaren, Ottaway in the Alfa Romeo, Herbie in the Renault, Feinwaldo in the Racing Point, Boothie in the Haas, Snake with the Merc, Smith with the Ferrari, Wavy E with the McLaren, Whippy with the Red Bull, Turbo in the Ferrari, and Tino Farr in the Renault will all migrate into Q2. Patriot with the Red Bull, Fratters and Fritz in the AlphaTauri, Poser in the Haas, and Schulden in the Williams will not migrate into Q2. Loading up the next round of qualifying here at Singapore. I did not expect the AlphaTauris to struggle that bad. They've not had the greatest season, for sure. But to both fail to make it into Q2 is definitely a very, very rough run for that team. So everyone is looking to be starting on the intermediate tire compounds for Q2. The rain has let up a bit. It's still raining. We're not even close to being in a position where you can run full softs. Now it looks like one of the first cars that will come out will be the Renaults, although the Ferraris will join shortly afterwards. This is Tino Farah. Tino Farah and teammate Herbie will be the first ones onto the track, with Herbie leading the charge, coming down into turn 1 here. And already about a third of the field has now exited the pits and are beginning their outlap, and more drivers are coming up. This track now is definitely long enough that you can get enough clean air if you're careful and everyone else is careful, and that will help everyone significantly when it comes to setting lap times. One of the difficulties of street circuits in general is trying to find clean track, and if you're a driver who's on a slow in-lap, trying to find a place on the circuit where you can pull your car off so the faster cars can get through without you impeding them. And again, if you weren't with us earlier, and I explained it a little bit earlier, under wet weather conditions, DRS does not get enabled. So for now, what we're seeing is the full ability of the car without aerodynamic devices aiding them, such as the rear wing flap opening up like in DRS scenarios. And now there are only 3 cars still on the pit lane, Ottaway, Boothie, and Whippy, all electing to wait just a little bit of time before they get underway here at Singapore. From Turbo, you can see one of the racing points just a little bit up ahead. Herbie will be the first driver to cross the line and begin a flying lap. Track a little bit drier than it was in Q1, where it was pouring rain at the start, but the rain gradually let up. The rain is still here, but with intermediate tires, we'll definitely see significantly faster times today. Snake is now beginning an outlap, actually ending an outlap. So he'll come around this final corner. Final corner is really weird because on a track map it looks like one uniform corner, but on track it's really 2 very distinct separate corners. And that is one of the racing points that is Retro, who has had an incident in Sector 3 and has damaged the front wing of the car. He will have to abandon and go ahead and jump into the pit lane. And that is one of the... That's Tino Farah. Farah has not only damaged the car, there's been some significant damage and is facing the wrong way altogether. Lucky that the front suspension isn't gone, but the front wing completely gone on the Renault machine for Tino Farah. And now Farah needs to make this really long, difficult trek around the track. He needs to navigate about half the circuit. A lot of them corners that you're going to need a little bit of downforce for, like this one right here. please be careful with the walls, Tino. Try desperately to stay off of the racing line whenever faster cars come up. But anyways, as Tino Farah makes a slow limp to the pits, his teammate Herbie will be the first one to set a time in Q2, 155.152. So the times definitely picking up where they left off at the end of Q1 on the intermediates. Davi goes right to the top, 153.885. I'm just watching Tino right now because I'm really concerned if Tino's going to actually be able to make it to pit road or not with the front wing completely gone. But there's only about 2-3 corners left depending on how you look at it. Let's look at a little bit more likely now. And yes, I believe we could say without issue that Tino Farah will be able to bring that car back to the pit lane. Snake and Smish now join the group of cars who have set a full-on lap time today. Whippy is going to whip it around the track and will begin his first outlap. Boothie and Retro are now on outlap, so everyone is either setting times or is setting up to set a time within a few minutes. This is Find Waldo, one of the Racing Point drivers, one of the first to adapt to the intermediates and show everyone that yes, intermediates for a fact were faster. Now he's on even playing field with everyone else when it comes to tire compound. What can Find Waldo actually set on this machine? The rear end really getting squirrely there through that bus stop. Coming out of that final corner across the line, Find Waldo will go up to 5th, 155.836. And Cargo jumps up to 3rd, 155.131. So 155 seems to be the main area that a lot of the drivers are gravitating to when it comes to time. Boothie has invalidated his current lap, as has Stumpy. Wavy E, on the other hand, in Sector 3 right now. Ooh, that's a nice camera angle. Not practical for race purposes, but for qualifying, that's pretty nice. Wavy E trying to make something happen. And one of the Renaults are really slow coming into the pit lane, but will be off the track completely by the time that racing traffic actually catches up to them. Wavy E whipping it, or at least trying to whip it smoothly through that bus stop chicane and now into the final corner. Time that he will set should be good enough. It will be good enough for 6th. Atui now jumps up to 2nd on the time sheet, 154.680, but no one yet has the ability to touch Davi when it comes to single lap pace here in the wet at Singapore. 10 or 15 drivers have set a time with 8 minutes left in the session. Tino Farah is on another outlap. Whippy has invalidated his current lap, so he's going to have to try again. But if that lap was not invalidated, the time that Whippy was set would not have been super ideal, 158.823. And that is Snake, who is slow coming out of turns 1 and 2. Low fuel warning on the car. It's going to be a slow trek around the circuit, but he's 2nd on the timesheets right now, and that's definitely a very good thing as we see one of the Ferraris come in, as will Mercedes. Whippy on a flying lap. Or Stumpy still in the pit lane. Boothie trying to make something happen this lap. One of 5 drivers who have yet to actually set a time in the session. This is Wavy E, trying to improve on his time right now. One of the Ferraris are ahead of him. I believe that is Smish. Yeah, that is Smish. So Smish will cross the line. No, Smish is not on a fast lap, though. Smish is out of fuel. .145 exiting the chicane. And we will abandon the lap. We'll go ahead, jump in, and refuel the car. This is Retro. One of the dominant cars when it comes to the championship battle. Still a heated championship battle nonetheless, but Retro trying desperately to make it into Q3. Coming across the line here is a good enough time for only 10th at the moment. Needs to take off a lot more time if he wants to make it into Q3 safely. Boothie has his purple sector 2, 125.241. And now entering just a series of 90-degree corners after 90-degree corners. The last like 7 corners are basically nothing but 90-degrees with real short runs between them. It makes it very, very difficult to properly set up entry and exit. You'd think, oh, just enter wide, make it straight through, and then exit wide. But it's a lot harder to do that than you think on a traditional street circuit. It's very dumpy, and he invalidates it across the line. And now he's going to back up. I am not 100% sure if that move is legal or not. That'll be interesting to see later. Stumpy, one of the drivers who still have yet to set a time, as is Tino Farah, and Tino, another invalid lap. Stumpy is still on a good lap, though, and maybe in a position to set a time. Whippy is on the outside looking in, as is XRL Turbo at the moment. The Ferraris looked really, really good when it was absolutely pelting rain, but now the track is a little bit more stable. The 2 Ferraris seem to be less so. Coming out of the final corner, in the other McLaren car, it's XRL Stumpy. Outlap of 155.346. So I'd like to say that if your outlap is that fast, you're going to set yourself up for a very, very good full-on lap here. That car does not sound healthy. And Tino Farah, again, forced to abandon. And he's going to have to try again. With only 4 minutes left in the session, this is not looking good for him whatsoever. Boothie is still in the pits. Turbo is on an outlap. He needs to take off at least 2.5 seconds in order to set a competitive time to even fight for Q3 right now. Teammate XRL Smith is also on an outlap right now, just a little bit up the road from him. Fine Waldo, Herbie, and Smith are all on outlaps. Dobby is back onto the track, actually, potentially trying to see if he can find any extra time if we still have semi-wet conditions or intermediate conditions in the race itself. He will pull over, though, and enable Boothie to have some cleaner track ahead of him. Tino still in the pits, needs to get out there sooner rather than later. That is Stumpy, not Stumpy, that is Stumpy's teammate Wavy E, who is now beginning migration out of the pit lane. Herbie, a little bit slow in Sector 2, but the flags are withdrawn as soon as they're thrown out. Here comes one of the Mercs. That's going to be Books, who is now beginning the migration out of the pit lane. Turbo on an outlap. Stumpy trying to make something happen with less than 3 minutes left in the session. Going through the final few corners right now. Now that last one, Stumpy will finally set a time, and what a time he sets, 155.407, just 5 thousandths off of his teammate, Wavy East. So the McLaren's very much grouped together. When it comes to ability, gonna come right there alongside the Renault. I like this camera angle. It shows you absolutely nothing, but it's kind of a cool cinematic shot. Boothie and Tino Farah are the only 2 drivers at this point to have not set time yet. Retro is now in the hot seat, one of your championship contenders, 11th on the timesheet, still trying to set an outlap. He has set a time, and it was a 156.194. Needs to take off at least 3/10 just to make it into Q3, and that's assuming that Boothie and Tino don't find a way to improve on their time and further knock Retro down the order. Davi, 153.885. Absolutely no one is touching Davi in the semi-wet conditions here at Singapore. Fine Waldo goes up to 3rd with a 154.657, so we know those racing points have speed. In fact, all the Mercedes engine cars are represented in the top 3 right now, but the other 3 Mercedes engine cars not so much represented. One of the Williams not even here, and then Retro and Books both on the bubble of not making it into Q3 at the moment. Books is on an outlap for the moment, as is Retro. Because Retro is actually going to pull over to enable clean track for one of the McLarens to scoot by. Boothie in Sector 2, trying to make something happen. The rear end really swirling on that car. For Tino Farah, the lap's invalid, but it's an out lap. What Tino really needs to do is just get to the line and get an actual serious lap set. Otherwise, any chance that Tino Farah making it into Q3 is going to evaporate before his eyes. Has begun the lap. Whippy, same position with 28 seconds left. Whippy needs to make it to the line and then try and improve from there. Retro in Sector 1 right now. One of your championship contenders trying to just make it into Q3. The chaos, if he doesn't make it into Q3, is going to be absolutely crazy. He's down on time in Sector 1. Not down by much, but he's down by 0.003 of a second for the moment. Checkered flags are out. Smish has retired from the session. And he's 10th on the timesheets. I don't feel comfortable for Smish's ability to make it into Q3. Not with Boothie, Retro, and Tino all on flying laps right now. Retro trying to be very careful, very cautious, so as not to damage the car from pushing too hard. The main reason we're focusing on Retro, one of your championship contenders, is he even going to make it into Q3? His rivals in the championship and the Alfa Romeo team both are in. But Retro, it's all up in the air for now. There's a slow car up ahead. I believe that is the Ferrari of Turbo. Not slow enough to directly hamper Retro through that bus stop chicane now. Turbo pulls over. Coming down to it, it's 50 seconds now. It looks like Retro Rixie will advance, but it's going to be close. It's going to be very close. He does not advance. He improves on his time, but Retro will not advance into Q3. He's down in the 155s, but it's not going to be enough. The humanity. Here comes Whippy. Whippy is over a second up. Whippy still is not in a position to advance either. Turbo is in the pits. What about Boothie? Tino Farah did not set a single time either. Whippy coming to the line. Is he going to take off enough time? Yes! Whippy will make it! But for Boothie, will he make it now? Coming down the final corner, the rear end really snapping aggressively on that Haas machine. It's going to be the only lap time he'll set this entire session, but it better be enough. It is! Boothie is in! And Books, Wavy E, Smish, Turbo, and Tino Farah, and Retro all are not going to make it. Actually, no, Smish will make it in. Smish, just by the skin of his teeth, makes it in. That was a crazy session. And for Retro, one of your championship contenders, he is not going to make it into Q2. So, only not... Oh, no! Smish retired from the session, I'm guessing from crash damage or something. So, no, Smish will not make it in. So, we only have 9 drivers fighting for the pole. Davi in the Williams, Stumpy in the McLaren, Snake in the Merc, Waldo in the Racing Point, Ottaway in the Alfa Romeo, Boothie in the Haas, Cargo in the other Alfa Romeo, Herbie in the Renault, Whippy in the Red Bull, Smish in the Ferrari. I'm guessing he must have crashed out or DNF'd or something because he's not making it into the next session. Neither is Wavy E in the McLaren, Books in the Mercedes, Retro in the Racing Point, XRL Turbo in the Ferrari, or Tino Farah in the Renault. And this is really bad news for Retro, starting 13th here on a very, very difficult, tricky street circuit where they're expecting rain throughout the entire race. Loading up for Q3 now. This is where it's going to get really interesting here. Again, for those of you who missed us earlier when we were going over the points set up for today's race. When it comes to driver points, Retro is the points leader with 123 points over Cargo and 119 points. So that's a 4-point swing. But Cargo is guaranteed now to start no worse than 9th. while meanwhile Retro isn't even going to start in the top 12. And again, that's under the worst case scenario for Cargo. We honestly could be looking at something even better for Cargo, depending on how this qualifying session goes. But anyways, Herbie is the first car out on the track, the Renaults, making a real habit of being the first drivers out onto the circuit in Q2 and now Q3 as well, trying to set as much time as soon as they can, already down to less than 11 minutes on the session here. This is Fine Waldo. This is the racing point that did make it into Q3. And behind him, it's Davi, who has been at the top of the timesheets in both sessions, but the rain has pretty much halted. The track is still wet, but the rain is halted, so we will see the track gradually drying out. Very late in the session, we may see some drivers swap to softs. You know what? I'm going to take that back. Whippy has gone straight to softs, does not care. Whippy seems to think there's a lot of ability in the softs. The big counterpoint to doing that, though, Whippy, is that unless you're betting on rain returning late in the session, and this is assuming you're able to keep it together, you're going to tell everyone with a big shining flag, hey, soft tire compounds are faster than the intermediates, and everyone's going to jump into the softs early, and any advantage you'd have would evaporate very early in the session. This is Snake, already out on the track as well. Ottawi, Boothie, and Stumpy all have yet to exit the pit lane. We'll compare Herbie's time at the line when he finishes to Whippy's, and we'll see if there's even any significant speed in the softs compared to intermediates under the current conditions. Herbie at the line. Well, it didn't tell us the tire time that it took for that outlap. But here comes Whippy, trying to be very careful. But the main racing line itself is most definitely drying out, but is it drying out fast enough? We're seeing Whippy slide the rear of that car around. This is Cargo here. Everyone is either in the middle of a lap or about to start setting a lap. And for Davi, 30.3 at the end of Sector 1. The track is getting faster. Is it going to be so fast, though, that Davi will not be able to adapt to the circumstances? He's been the top of the timesheets in both of the prior sessions. A pole for the Williams would be amazing, especially considering that his teammate Schold is 20th after serving a qualifying win. You can see the racing point of Fine Waldo up ahead of him. Car really seems front drift happy. The front end just kind of slowly taking a little bit of a mind of its own and bears track. Move out of the way, Davi! Nearly runs over the back of Waldo. That was a little bit closer than I'd like. But 114 flat, or almost 114 flat, at the end of Sector 2. But the first car who will set a time, it's not going to be Herbie. His lap's invalidated, so it's going to be a question. Oh, and that's Cargo! No, that was Ottawi! That was Ottawi! Has damaged the car significantly there at the end of Turn 2. Significant damage to the front nose of that car. He's going to have to wait a lot longer to be able to set a lap time. Davi coming to the line will set this first lap of the day in Q3. And 153.229 is the bar to set, but can Whippy match that, or even better that, on the soft tire compounds? Cargo, 154.921. Not really a true threat, at least not yet. But for Whippy, what is it going to be? It's not even going to be anywhere close to that. Whippy's on the softs, but he's losing so much time chasing the rear of that car through a lot of the sectors of the track. He's already at 157, and he's not even come to the final corner yet. The softs just aren't the ideal tire compound, it appears. He's going to come in and jump onto the intermediates, but that is a lot of important time lost. Waldo, a very slow time, 210.4. That's slow enough to make me think that he may have had an incident spinning around somewhere on the circuit. Oh, and Boothie has gone into the wall. Snake goes up to 154.429. Boothie has nosed it into the wall there. And the last hairpin, not even a true hairpin, it's just a acute angle corner, but he noses into the wall there on track. Ottawi, the front wing significantly damaged. The car not going to set a time. This is Stumpy. Stumpy is on track right now to set the next serious lap of the session. Track is drying out, but we saw from what Whippy did earlier, it's not dried out enough to make the softs faster than the intermediates still. That may be exactly what Davi needs to hold on to the pole position. No one has been able to truly touch him on the top of the timesheets. Coming to the line, XRL Stumpy will set a time, 1:54.117. They're starting to close in on Davi, but the gap is still 9/10 between first and second. And Ottawi, Boothie, and Herbie are all in the pits, but Ottawi is now beginning that slow trek into the pit lane. They're going to have to quickly change. And now Cargo is at the top. So one of the Alfa Romeos has dethroned Davi at the top of the timesheets, 1:53.175. And if you're Ottawi, if you're Boothie, if you're Herbie, or you're Whippy, you honestly need to start thinking, seriously, swapping to softs if you think the track is dry enough. But again, Whippy showed earlier, it wasn't dry enough, but we're now several minutes past that. On the racing line, it's going to get drier even faster. And Ottawi needs to capitalize on this as this Cargo, because when it comes down to it, in the points battle with Retro being caught in the midfield, Cargo is in a perfect position now, but he's going to want that teammate help from Ottawi to help cover his ass for points. Not to mention, Snake and Ottawi are also right on top of each other in the points battle for third. Ottawi, if he could jump in and potentially swap the softs, he could make it happen. Davi is making the choice to go onto the soft tire compound as the Merc of XRL Snake is in the pits right now. So more drivers about to try out softs. Boothie and Herbie are committing to intermediate tires on this next set of outlaps. Whippy and Ottawi, we do not yet know what they're going to go with. The track is in an awkward in-between stage. Is the softs faster, or is it the intermediates? And then, even if the softs are faster, can you control them? We know the softs are faster in normal conditions, but in these semi-wet conditions, Whippy tried the softs earlier and ended up just sliding and drifting the car all around the track, losing oodles of time. Everyone is gone onto the intermediates with the exception of Davi, and Davi is now beginning the slow run down pit lane, preparing to exit. It looks like they're going to bring the McLaren in, and yes, that is Stumpy coming in onto the track right now. And no, that's actually not Davi, that's Snake who's coming out onto the track right now. 3.5 minutes left in the session. Honestly, whatever tire compound you have right now is probably going to be the one you're going to run to the end of the session. Davi, if he wants to fight for that pole, he needs to get onto the track, and he needs to do it sooner rather than later. Ottawi is on an outlap. Boothie is on an outlap. Herbie is on an outlap. Whippy is still in pit road, has not set a time yet, but we are now seeing movement in the Red Bull camp. They're beginning the migration out. He's running on the intermediate tires, though, and there, an incident! And that was on board with Boothie, and he has damaged the front nose of that car, I imagine. Yes, significant damage to the nose of Boothie's car. On his outlap, he might not even be able to set a time. Boothie, the best thing he can do is just limp that car around and try and set some sort of time. There's no guarantee everyone else is even going to be able to set a time here due to incidents like that. That's exactly what Boothie's going to do. He's going to tough it out through the damage. He will set a time at the least. It's an outlap for him. This is the only lap he's going to have a chance to set. Herbie has invalidated. There's 2 minutes, 11 seconds left, so if he's fast enough and doesn't have an instant, he will have time to make it back around. Ottawi, he has invalidated his outlap. He needs something to happen. For Whippy, running the intermediates, trying to make something happen, trying to make some miracle work. Stumpy, the only driver, he is actually on the softs. So Davi ended up going back to the intermediates at the end. It's Stumpy in the McLaren who jumped back onto the softs. So this could get very interesting. But he has invalidated his lap. And he's invalidated it relatively early. He's going to have to hoof it if he wants to make it to the line in time to set a true flyer lap. He's got Boothie behind him, but Boothie has a wounded car. matter. Boothy's going to go right by him. Stumpy is coming to a slow. He's actually coming almost to a stop. There's only a minute and 20 seconds left. This is not going to look good. Stumpy needs to really push it to make it to the line if he wants to try and set a flying lap on those softs. Ottaway trying to make something happen. Boothy is just trying to set a time period. Herbie has invalidated his lap, but he will start another lap shortly. Whippy, same scenario. He will start a flying lap shortly, though. The damage to the Haas has gone from bad to worse, as he has now lost the entire front wing of that car all of a sudden. And it's right in front of the Williams of Davi, who's on an outlap as well. I don't know if Boothy is aware of the loss of the front wing. Oh, he's definitely going to be aware now. He just needs to make it around to set a time. It's invalidated. Boothy will not set a single time in this session. Herbie, Whippy, both on flying laps. Ottaway trying to make something happen as well. Stumpy needs to race to the line. There's 13 seconds left on the clock. Will he get to the start-finish line in time to set a flyer on the softs? He's abandoning his lap. He cannot make the softs work. Ottaway has... No, that's Boothy. I'm sorry. I thought Ottaway had damaged the car. Boothy, no front wing on the car, but he is going to make it around. It's going to be a slow, long trek, but he will set a time in the session. Waldo has set a time of 1:54.553. Cargo is sitting on the top. Davi is still out there, though, and may be able to improve. At the line, 1/10 up at the end of Sector 1. If he can keep that advantage and gain a little bit more in the next two, he would take the pole position back. Whippy trying to set a time, as is Herbie. Boothy just trying to bring it around the track. Where Davi is coming down to it, needs to be very careful. He's been at the top of the sheets most of the day today, but now Cargo is taking the fight to him. Well, not true points leader. He's second in points, but he's looking to set himself up to be a points leader. And Boothy has destroyed the car there on the track. Boothy completely ruined the front suspension of the car. Asking them to go so long without anything on the nose was just too much. He's lost time, though, in Sector 2. Davi needs to make a monster time in Sector 3 to get that pole position. Herbie and Whippy have set times. It's all come down to Davi. Can Davi do anything to Cargo? Nearly smacks the outside wall there in the tunnel turn in the bus stop chicane. As the track dried out, it looks like Davi's grip on the field may have weakened. But has it weakened too much? It has. He goes off the circuit. The lap is going to be invalid. He will not set the pole position time. And when it comes down to it, Cargo capitalizes on RetroX's faults. He will start on the pole position while your points leader ends up starting 13th on the grid. And there's your results. Only 8 drivers able to set times in qualifying session 3. But for Cargo and Ottaway, who's going to be right behind him, this is the best they can ask for. They were the only team to get both of their cars in Q3. And not just that, they are the only team to be able to start in the top 3 positions. And with the highest racing point being Fine Waldo, not even a true championship contender, in 6th behind them, they have control of the race, they have control of the narrative, and they may also have control of the championship now. And we're getting word from the pits that Retro, the team, did not set the car up for a wet weather race. They were setting the car up for a potential dry race. So with that in mind, they're going to have to be taking all this time to real hurriedly swap over to a wet race scenario, but starting mid-pack instead of in the normal pack, instead of the front where they normally are, is really, really going to hurt his ability to set a time here. Just standing by for the moment until we get underway for our main feature race. But very interesting, unique qualifying session. Standing by for the moment until we actually get underway. There's normally about a 5-minute gap. For those of you who may have missed us for the majority of the event, wet qualifying and a miscommunication for the points leading team with Retro Ixie leads to a scenario where your points leader will not even make it into Q3, will have to start mid-pack, while his biggest rival in the points, XRL Cargo, will be starting on the pole position. Significant and serious championship implications, but the race is not over. The race, in fact, is actually not even begun. There is still a full hour left, but trying to make your way up from the mid-pack to the front to salvage as many points and even try to salvage a points lead is going to be extremely difficult. Snake, Smish, Retro, everyone is now beginning to ready up. We'll see them on the track sooner rather than later. And it's going to be a standing wet start, one of the most difficult starts you can get on this circuit. Lights coming on. And it's lights out, and away we go here once more at Singapore. Cargo, Davi having a drag race to the line. Davi's trying to make something happen. Who's it going to be as they come out of that first corner? And it looks like it's going to be Cargo at the front. But meanwhile, farther back, Retro has lost significant positions. He's already fallen to 15th. He's actually losing spots on the track here on this initial start. Everyone currently running full wet tires. And you can just see the complete spray that makes it nearly impossible for these drivers in the back of the field to actually do or try anything. Boothie has had a significant drop as well in the qualifying, but that's Pauser. Pauser is going to give Retro a slam at the side, and now Retro is at risk of losing position. He's going to make contact with the Renault. There is no room on the track. He has lost one of his wing end plates. The day is going from bad to worse rapidly for your points leader. Meanwhile, at the front, Davi has overtaken Cargo. In fact, Stumpy has done it as well. Cargo has slipped down to the third position, and there is a yellow flag on the track Fratter has destroyed the car completely. You can see Fratter is completely destroyed, and Fritz, that car is not in the it doesn't look like that car is in the healthiest condition either. The AlphaTauris have a day that goes from bad to worse here. It is a full course yellow flag. The big news, the big benefit though, is that for Retro, he'll have a chance to come in, repair the damage to the wing, and catch up to the back of the field. For Davi, this is perfect. He may not have gotten the pole, but he's back in the top spot. Ferrari brought home a win last week at Monza. Davi is going to try and do the same thing for the Williams. But it's more than just pace that decides your victories here in X3. It's strategy and a little bit of luck. Stumpy has worked his McLaren up into the second position. He was one of the more daring drivers in Q3. It's paying off a little bit now. He's on the full wets, but in second. Hargo has slipped to third with his teammate Otway right behind him, and the Ferrari of Smish has pulled out a massive run in that number 69, a nice number. He is now fifth on the track. Herbie is sixth, and now we'll start seeing the stars come in. Buki is staying out, Turbo is staying out. Retro is actually staying out despite the damage to the front wing. So it's Books, Tino Farah, and Pauser who are all going to go ahead and jump into the pit lane. Pauser already coming into the pits to make the repairs necessary. This is Tino Farah as they're finishing up. Wavy E about to come out into the track. So a 19-car field as Davi leads them behind the yellow flag. So a very chaotic start, but they got lucky that only one car was taken out at the initial start of this event. When we go green, it will be a flying start. As long as Davi nails it, he'll be in a good position for this race. We anticipate that the drivers at the back, Pauser, Books, Wavy, and Tino Farah will all be able to catch the safety car. I imagine at least they'll catch the back of the field before his lap ends. Yes, a little bit of side-by-side action. Well, not side-by-side, but a side-to-side action on most of the field. They're all trying to just keep a little bit of heat in the tires. For drivers at the back of the field, they're trying right now to just put some heat in the tires before they get underway here. A lot of this track, because a lot of the track has so many slow-speed quarters, the difference in speed between pace speed and full racing speed is not very large. That's why it's taking these drivers in the back so long to catch up with the leaders. But Pauser looks like he at least will be able to catch the group before we get underway here. And it looks like, actually, I'm going to take it back. We are not going to be going this lap. We are looking to go next lap on the session. Also of note, Boothie is the only driver right now to have a penalty on him. But here comes Pauser. He is going to catch the back of the field as he rounds this final corner here. Well, not final corner. A little bit more twitchiness from that Haas machine, but he has caught the back of the field now. I keep saying that, and they're not there. There they are. Thank you. Books is going to be the next one that has to make it to the field, as will Wavy E. Tino Farah keeping damage. Tino Farah has damaged the front wing of that car under the safety car, trying to just keep up with the cars ahead. So, and Patriot now has a penalty for collusion with Scholl on the racetrack. And now Books and Tino Farah are both making stops, as is Boothie. So Boothie is coming in, he's repairing damage on the front wing, serving his penalty. But more and more pit stops. This is getting really weird because this is going to... I don't know if the field's going to go green or not after this. Boothie should have time. If he's careful, Boothie should be able to catch up to the back of the field. But for Books and Tino Farah, I don't think it's going to happen. Tino Farah damages the front wing on the wet racetrack, and I'm starting to wonder if maybe it's just too wet for the drivers. If they're wrecking that easily under much, much slower speeds, that could be a problem. Now, granted, the way the Formula One cars are set up, they're at their most stable at the higher speeds. But still, to be wrecking under slow speeds and relatively slow corners when there's no true pressure on would say a lot about how damp this track is. Or a lot about Tino Farah's ability, but I've seen Tino Farah put down good runs before. I don't think there's anything on Tino's end. I think the track may just be truly that wet. Yeah, neither Books or Boothie. Boothie has smacked the wall again! And the front wing is damaged again! So for the three drivers at the back of the field, more and more trouble for them. Boothie now has significant front wing damage, and this is also going to make things hard for Books, because Books is going to want to catch up to the back of the field, but Boothie is having trouble doing so. The interesting part in this all, despite losing a bunch of time at the start, Retro has persevered by just not being involved in all this chaos. Retro is now up to 11th on the timesheets. Yeah, you can see the significant damage to the front wing. Both of the end plates completely gone for that Haas. Boothie will catch the back end of the field here. Well, I imagine he's going to catch the back end of the field, but we're going to have to go another lap. Smish and Herbie, so that was weird for a moment, it said that they were losing positions. Will Boothie come in and repair the front wing damage? That's my question. Yes! So Boothie's coming in again to repair the front wing damage, having trouble just staying on the track properly. And Tino Farah still has yet to catch the back end of the field. Yeah, I don't even know if Tino Farah is going to properly catch the back end of the field. Boothie is definitely not going to catch the field by the time they get to the line here. An extremely long yellow flag session as drivers at the back of the field, after taking damage in the initial kerfuffle at the start, pit to try and repair the car. Then they come out of the pits under yellow, but to try and catch up to the field, they end up damaging their cars again and have to come and pit again. Tino Farah will catch the back of the field here. So Tino, at least, will catch, but for Boothie, it's a much, much more difficult and different scenario for him. Boothie trying to make up ground as fast as he can to catch the back end of the field. No word yet if we're going to go green on this lap or not. Boothie roughly 20 seconds off of the 18th place car at the moment. He does have the advantage in the long straights. He can just floor it wide open, and as long as he still makes the corners, he'll be fine. It does not look like Boothie's going to make it in. Safety car is coming in this lap, and Boothie is not going to catch the back of the field. This is not going to bode well for him. And now Books and Tino Farah apparently have penalties for a collision that may have happened between the two. But this is going to be where the interesting stuff happens. It's between Stumpy and Davi. What will they do at the start here? Davi and Stumpy backing up the entire field behind them. That will actually help Boothie, and yes, Boothie will catch the back of the field, but that's really Davi, and to a lesser extent probably Stumpy as well, trying to play a little bit of a head game. Now the Poser has a penalty for a collision with Patriot. So neither of the Haas's are having a very good start here. I don't see any damage to that car, but still. Oh, and Davi is pitting! Davi is coming into the pits! And that means Stumpy now becomes the leader, but Davi, our race leader, jumps into the pit lane. I don't know what happened there. And Waldo was involved in an accident. He has turned completely backwards, and the front wing is gone on that car. Davi is swapping to intermediate tires. Davi seems to think that by himself on the intermediates, he'll be faster than everyone else, but he's going to have to navigate the slower traffic with Waldo behind him. But now, it's Stumpy and the McLaren, and Cargo there, and now Waldo has a penalty for corner cutting despite the fact that the car is destroyed. Okay, game. Cargo now has the chance to put the pressure on Stumpy and try to take his, what he believes at least, is a rightful position at the top of the field. But the interesting part is going to be Davi. What can Davi do? He has clean track ahead of him. Boothie! No, that's me, Pauser! Pauser has gone off the track there at the start of Sector 2. Neither Haas machine is having any kind of good luck today. Ooh, you can see Stumpy really whipping it as they come through the bridge here. Cargo wants to figure out some way by, but if he's going to make it happen, he's got to do something. More issues for Fine Waldo. The car just not working whatsoever. Same with Pauser. Pauser, significant damage to the front wing as well. Those two will have no choice. They'll have to pit. Davi is very rapidly catching the back of the field. The thing is, once he catches him, will he even be able to do anything with them? Wavy E has caught Patriot. Also, no, Retro is now back into the points paint positions. He is up to 9th on the field right now. Scholl gets really, really sideways there. Pauser, again, goes around. Pauser has spun it again. This is Patriot. He has lost the position. The Tino Farah Smish now has the fastest time on the track. Stumpy, our race leader, is pitting. Waldo is in the... No, that was Pauser. Pauser is in the wall, has completely destroyed the car. So Pauser's day is over, and Waldo's still on that slow run. Now drivers en masse are flocking into the pit lane, trying to jump onto the intermediates. And for Davi, this is going to look wonderful for him because he was one of the first drivers on intermediates. Now, by default, you can move him up into the 9th place on the track. But he's still going to be catching traffic ahead of him, and he needs to figure out a way to get by them smoothly and cleanly so they don't end up slowing him down. If he can do that, though, he will definitely not only end up with the lead, but he's going to have to lead by a significant margin. That's all Ferrari-powered cars at the front of the field. Alfa Romeo Ferrari, Alfa Romeo Ferrari at the top 4. Scholl in the other Williams is the highest Mercedes-engined car, but he's out there at the front by virtue of just not pitting yet. Tino Farah has pitted several times under the yellow flag, but will more likely have to consider jumping on the intermediates sooner rather than later. Tino Farah is going to get very, very well acquainted with his pit crew. Books has Davi working on him. What can Davi do on the intermediate tire compounds? Books struggling, and there's a little bit of contact. Davi and Books make contact. Is Davi's car okay, though? We're still waiting on a decent camera shot to see the nose of that car to see if Davi is okay. That's not the greatest shot. And there is damage to the front wing of Davi's car. And the entire strategy that Davi had has gone AWOL. AWOL? Yeah, we'll go with AWOL. Has gone AWOL. Damage to the... Oh, no, actually. Yeah, that front wing, it's not horribly destroyed, but it's damaged pretty significantly. Is he going to stay out and keep trying to set times with a damaged front wing? That's my question. Cargo now has the fastest time, as does Ottawi now. So this is going to get interesting. Will Scholl move over for Davi? Are they both going to come in? Scholl is coming in. Davi's staying out. Turbo's coming in as well. So Davi is now up to 5th on the track. 201.388. But with front wing damage, I would imagine the other drivers on intermediates will soon start closing in on him. This is Tino Farah. It's dropped off the back of the leaders. Ottawi is now trying to put a little bit of pressure on Smish. Smish, who won at Monza last week, trying to bring home a top 3 here today. In fact, the entire top 3 have all pretty much closed in on each other once more. Books and Patriot coming in. They're going to be swapping onto the intermediate tire compounds. Only the top 4 are still on the full wets. And they're losing time rapidly to the rest of the field. In fact, this might actually turn back around and benefit Retro, because although the fact that Retro is still in the middle of racing conditions, I would imagine on racing conditions, when everyone is on intermediate tires, you're going to be faster than the drivers on full wets. So Retro may end up ahead, or at least even, with Cargo, the points leader, once they all do go ahead and decide to make their pit stop. But this is the interesting one. Davi closing in rapidly on Tino Farah, but just like he did with Books, he's going to catch Tino at a very awkward section of the track where there aren't any real good overtaking opportunities. And the question obviously is still, what are the leaders going to do? Will they go ahead and pit, or are they going to try and stay out? Here we are, the leader, Cargo, is coming in. We see Smish coming in as well. Ottawi is staying out another lap on the wets, though. Depending on how long the intermediates can last, this may or may not turn out to be a very good idea. Davi, fastest lap again, 159.8, but we'll start seeing other drivers now very quickly setting faster laps. Stumpy, 159.576 in the McLaren. Snake, 158.544 in the Mercedes. The lap times are dropping, and they are dropping fast. Davi is closing in on the leaders, and everyone else is closing in on Davi. Books now has a time penalty for track violation warnings. Wavy is in the pits, trying to take care of damage. And who is that? That is Books, who has gone completely around there and has significantly damaged the front wing of the car. He's going to have no choice. He's going to have to pit here. And pit he does. Turbo loses the spot to Boothie as Boothie and Tino Farah are in for it. Tino Farah knocks Boothie in the wall. I do not think Boothie will be very happy with that. And they have the Williams of Schultz behind them. Patriot now has a penalty for speeding in the pit lane. It's going from bad to worse for that Red Bull machine. Waldo, 158.508. That's the new fastest lap in the Racing Point. But Waldo's back there in 16th, though, with that in mind. Gap between first and second has stabilized a bit. It's about 13 seconds. Gap between second and third, about 6. Field pretty well spread out at the moment, with the exception of Turbo and Schold, who are very, very close to each other right now, in times at least. And Ottawi is finally jumping into the pits. And with that in mind, this means that the lead will go to LDT Davi. So move Davi back into the lead here. One of the first drivers, actually the first driver, to jump onto the intermediates, but he took damage while moving up through the field, so it's going to be very difficult. He has a little less than 6 seconds over the second place car at the moment. But Stumpy has a time penalty, though. It's a 5-second penalty at that. So realistically, Davi's not worried about Stumpy, at least not for the moment. He's worried about Snake. Tino Farah has caught Fritz. Fritz, the only Alfa Romeo still on track. Oh, and Tino Farah slaps the outside wall just a bit. Tino Farah is fast, but is running very risky lines, to say the least. Waldo, 157.311. With clean track ahead of him, Waldo is easily the fastest person on track at the moment. Tino Farah making the move on Fritz. And Fritz will not fight too hard back on it. So move Tino Farah now up into the points-paying positions, along with his teammate, Herbie. Also of note, Cargo, your points leader, it's slow, but he is now beginning to close in on Snake. So the Alfa Romeos, and Cargo especially, are still ahead of Retro on the track. They're all in points-paying positions, but Cargo, if they finish where they were right now, Cargo would bring a metric heap of points in regard to Retro. Cargo would finish third if you factored in the 5-second penalty. And Stumpy has damage to the front wing of that car, and that is backing up the entire field behind him now. Stumpy is going to have to pit, or at least consider pitting, and that's exactly what he's going to do. Stumpy will come in, probably serve his penalty, and jump on to a better set of tires as well, I'd imagine. But now the battle for second is on between Snake and Cargo, both about 9 seconds and some change out from LDT Davi. And if these two spend enough time fighting, Davi is really going to be happy with it, because Davi is nursing a wounded car right now. It's moderately competitive, but it's not as competitive as these two are. But if these two lose a bunch of time amongst each other fighting for that position, Davi, he's not going to get a full free pit stop out of it, but he may have that extra time in the pits to swap the wing. Fritz is now fallen behind Boothie as well. Boothie now is in points paying positions once more. This is Retro all by himself on the track, but the big thing is Retro's position in regards to Cargo. Retro entered this race the points leader, but did not make it into Q3. Started mid-pack. Cargo started near the front, actually on the front row on pole. Cargo has slipped to third, and Retro has gained to 8th, but still the advantage is for Cargo. Patriot now has another time penalty for track violations, as does Smish. We had a lot of track violations in qualifying, but in the race, we still have a lot of them, but they seem to be concentrated on just a small handful of drivers right now. Cargo has dropped off the back of Snake just a bit. In fact, Snake has just set the fastest time of the day, 1:57.205. Gap between the first and second now down to 7.5 seconds. And most of the battles on the track aren't really there anymore. In fact, I'll swap it to interval just to show you. Waldo, fastest lap again, 1:56.898. Waldo absolutely blitzing the field when it comes to time, but he's actually catching Wavy E, so we are going to have a battle for the 15th position sooner rather than later between Waldo and Wavy E, I'd imagine. Waldo consistently one of, if not the fastest single car on the track. Ooh, a little bit of wall slap there. A little bit farther up, Schold has caught Turbo, but trying to find something to do with him is going to be its own headache. Ottawi, in the same way, has caught the Ferrari of Smish, but there doesn't seem to be anything that Smish is really able to do to Smish is able to do to get away from Ottawi, and Ottawi can do to get away from Cargo. And now Davi has a track violation, so that's going to significantly harm Davi's ability to run the race that he has planned. Patriot now has another time second penalty, but it's for speeding in the pit lane. When Ottawi cuts the track there, I'm amazed that didn't end up being a penalty, honestly. Herbie now has a 3-second time penalty for track violation. So now we're starting to see, as what happens a lot of the time, track violations start piling up, and that's when we start seeing a lot of the incidents happening. Retro, fastest lap, 1:56.888. That's what he needs, and he needs to keep saying that as we come to the end of this race. Schold right on Turbo, trying to make something happen for the 12th spot. In the same vein, Waldo right on Wavy E for the 15th spot. Cargo has caught Snake again. Once Davi pits, this battle will become the battle for the race lead. And there's a yellow flag in Sector 1, and that's Patriot, who has gone around and he's damaged the car again. The day is just completely falling apart for Patriot. The fact that he's not gone a lap down yet is honestly impressive. Cargo working on Snake. They know with the time penalty that Davi has, coupled with Davi having a wounded car, it's going to make it hard for him to really do anything in relation to these two. They can fight it between themselves to fight for what will eventually become the lead of the race. So Stumpy has caught the battle between Schold and Turbo. So Turbo is significantly slower than both of these cars, but the track is just too narrow to really make any overtakes happen. And behind them, Wavy E and Waldo are actually as well starting to close in on this. Ottawa still on Smish. Cargo has dropped off the back of Snake just a little bit. And Retro, fastest lap again, 156.460. He needs to keep doing this. At the rate he's going, he'll catch Herbie in a few laps. Stumpy now has a penalty for track violation as well. Cargo now back within 9/10 of Snake. Gonna lose some of that time again. Now he's gonna try maximize his ability here to close in. 7/10. The gap seems to be fluctuating between about 4/10 and 1.2 seconds. But Cargo not able to do anything to Snake. Davi is still your race leader. But he is losing time both due to a track penalty that he has and the fact that that car is wounded. Davi was easily one of, if not the fastest car on track whenever the car was clean, but with the damaged front wing, it's making it harder for him to maintain those fast laps that he honestly believes he should be setting. Cargo right there behind Snake again. And they're going to come down to the start-finish line straight once more. Smish still holding position over Ottawa, but Smish has a time penalty, Ottawa does not. And then we still have this battle here. This is we basically have, I'm sure some of you older F1 fans have heard of a Truly train. Well, now we have a Turbo train. Turbo has backed up Stumpy, Schold, Wavy E, and very shortly Find Waldo all up behind them, but none of them really being able to do anything. All it takes is for one of these drivers to make a mistake, and it's going to become a feeding frenzy for these positions on track. Cargo now has a time penalty as well. So Snake is putting himself in good position. And it looks like Turbo is coming in the pits. Yes, Turbo is finally going to go ahead and merge into the pits. This means that Stumpy, Schold, Wavy, Find Waldo, the track opens up for them just a little bit. And the fact that there's no DRS means that we'll actually see who actually is practically faster, at least ideally we will, if they can work together and utilize faster parts of the straight speed part. Yeah, I'm all over my words right now and not in a good way. Turbo and Patriot, this is interesting. They have gone to the medium tire compounds here. So now I'm curious if they can make those medium tire compounds work. What does that mean for Davi? Davi might be able to go ahead, jump in, service penalty, repair the wing, jump onto softer, actual race rubber, and then start opening up the gap sooner rather than later. You may want to consider doing that if Turbo and Patriot set down serious times. But he'll stay out for another lap for now. Yeah, they're saying you could jump onto the hards for the rest of the race. Turbo and Patriot seem to think that jumping onto the mediums may be the way to go. But again, this is all assuming that rain doesn't show up again at the very tail end of the race. Snake needs to pit. Personally, I think Snake's best option is to go ahead and pit now, this lap. He only has 3.4 seconds I'm sorry, Davi needs to pit this up because he only has 3.2 seconds over Snake. He's going to lose time to Snake the longer and longer he stays out there. Boothie now has a 3-second time penalty. Snake doesn't have a penalty to worry about. Davi does. So if Davi come in, serve that penalty, and not have to worry about it again, he can jump into the pits, swap over, repair the wing, and go back to being one of the fastest cars on the track. Ottawi and Smish have finally swapped positions, so Ottawi now is back into the 4th spot. Also, not talked about much today, but Whippy has had a silently strong day. He is up there in the 6th position. Retro still in 8th. The gap between 1st and 2nd has now collapsed to less than 3 seconds. Davi, he's going to have to pit. He's going to have to pit now. If I had my way about, I would definitely make my pit stop now. But the question is going to be, is Turbo fast or not? Because if Turbo is not very fast on the mediums, there's no value to it. And we won't know for sure for like another lap or so. That's the other problem. So it will be a gamble. But I think Davi kind of needs to take the gamble. Otherwise, the longer and longer he stays out there, and there's a safety car, a full course safety car, a yellow flag has fallen. Patriot has retired from the session, coming out of the pit lane. And Davi is going to pit. Snake is pitting. Cargo is pitting. Ottawi might be, and Smish now has a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. Which is odd because Smish is still going to have to try and race to catch up to the field, but a rough run for the Ferrari. Whippy is pitting. Herbie, he's pitting. Retro is pitting. What about Tino? I think everyone is going to consider pitting so they can jump on 2 harder tire compounds. Davi is jumping on the mediums. Cargo is on the hards. Snake, it's saying he's still on the intermediates for now, as it does for Smish. No, Smish is on the hards. Tino Farr is coming into the pits. What will Boothie do? So this is weird. Snake, he's 2nd, but he's on intermediates on a drying track. And the car ahead of him, Cargo, is on hards. Davi now has a working car. The track is dry, and he's got the fastest tire compound in the top 4. Whippy is on the mediums also. Then you have Herbie on the hards. Ottawi and Retro are both on mediums. Tino is on the hards. Boothie is on the hards. Fritz on the hards. Stumpy is swapping over right now. He's on the mediums. Fine Waldo is coming into the pits. They're putting on mediums. Scholl, they're going to go ahead, serve a penalty. And now he will go ahead and jump onto the mediums. Wavy E is on hard. Turbo is on hard. Books is on hards. So Snake is the odd one out. On the Mercedes team, Snake has not changed tire compound. And with the way the track was drying out, this is going to get really interesting. I'm not seeing the spray coming out from behind the cars ahead. So Snake, I'm going to go ahead and go from saying this was a risky idea to this may have been an outright bad idea for Snake. Also note, Snake and Whippy are the only drivers in the top 6 to have no time penalties on them right now. I honestly thought some of them would have ended up serving their penalties in pit lane on this, but they have not. And yep, Snake is going to come in, jump into the pits, realize that the choice to stay on the intermediates was not the right one, but he's going to lose a bunch of time. He's going to easily fall out of the top 8 positions. There's honestly a risk he'll fall out of the points paying positions altogether. No one else seems to be joining Snake into the pits, and it looks like he will merge out 9th. So he's not lost all the points, but he has lost a significant amount. Ottawi has had a disconnection issue back there in 6th. And Retro is now up to 7th as well. That's the other thing, consider Retro gaining more points. He's 7th, but Cargo, the points lead, who is going to, if they finish the way they are now, Cargo would be the mass points leader. He would end up taking the points lead and the race win. But he's got Davi behind him. Davi, medium tires, and he's been faster most of the day, except in qualifying when Cargo beat Davi. So the two fastest drivers on track now going head-to-head. And Davi finally has a fixed car. He's been driving a wounded car most of this race. Now it's going to be full power for him. Cylinder yellow flag, Captain Patriot ended up crashing coming out of the pit lane. It is brought an end to his race. Turbo is back into the pits now, serving a drive-through penalty. Of note, Whippy is the only driver in the top 5 who do not have time penalties also. And it's looking like they're going to stay out on track one more lap, the safety car will, that is. That will give a chance for Turbo and Boothy and Books to all properly catch the back of the field. Whoa, Boothy. This has definitely been one of our longer races for sure. Alright, Boothy is now caught in the back of the field. Turbo's going to take him just a little bit longer, but he is going to run them down. And Adwi is now rejoined. Of note, in the top 5, 3 of them have hard and 2 of them have medium tire compounds. I'm not 100% sure what's going on there. I mean, I know what's going on. They all have different ideas as to when the mediums are going to go away. And we know for a fact that Cargo, Smish, and Herbie will have good tires at the very end. But when they get underway racing, Davi and Whippy are going to be way faster, or at least as fast as the cars ahead of them. It can put some significant pressure down. But Cargo will also have the advantage of having clean air. Davi fresher tires, but dirty air. So it's going to get very, very interesting at the front of the field. Turbo trying rapidly to catch up to the back of the field here. Safety car in this lap. Turbo will just catch the back of the field. Smish is in the really awkward position. Oh! And there's contact between Smish and Davi. And now Davi and Smish both have significant time penalties for that. So that may have just given the race by default to Cargo, because now... Yeah, Smish has a drive-through. Davi now has a 5-second time penalty he'll have to serve. So Davi, 5-second time penalty. Smish, drive-through. So Davi is now basically 5 seconds behind Cargo. So yeah, this has just made everything way, way harder for the race leaders. Not Cargo, obviously. For Cargo, all of a sudden it's become a lot easier. But for Davi, it's become much, much more difficult than this race has. Smish coming into the pits as they're coming down to the green flag here. A clean green racetrack. Davi and Cargo, the fastest 2 drivers of the day, need to fight it out for the win here. A little bit farther back. This is Retro already making something happen on Ottawi. Neck and neck. Retro is coming back into the top 5 points. He's trying desperately to make something happen and preserve his championship lead he inherited last week. They're still side by side though. And Retro's gonna do it, but Davi, meanwhile at the front, is right there under Cargo. Cargo is probably hearing on the radio that Retro is gaining position. He needs to do whatever he can. And Herbie has had an accident on the track. I can't see it on the circuit, but there is a yellow flag now in Sector 2. With Smish, we'll see the damaged car very shortly here. Around the corner. Gets off the racing line as well. That's going to make things difficult. Davi right behind Cargo. Here's the other thing. Will DRS get enabled within the next lap or so? If it does, then that gives Davi a stronger chance to make a move. Retro has now caught Whippy. Whippy, well, he's catching Whippy. Whippy is now up in the 3rd position. And he has no penalties compared to the top 2. So, realistically, Whippy is your current race leader. Davi right there under Cargo's rear wing. If DRS gets enabled in the next few laps, Davi will be in a very good position. Davi, fastest car on the track. He's got the MEMS. He may be able to make the overtake without having DRS. He's going around the outside. Davi gets pitched by Cargo. They're still neck and neck. They're still side by side as they come out of turn 2 here. And Davi goes to the top. But now Davi has a 5-second time penalty more than Cargo. Both these drivers have penalties. They both need to outrun Whippy, and Davi needs to set 5 seconds between himself and Cargo. But when DRS gets back enabled, Cargo will have a chance to hold right there with Davi. Farther back in the points main position, Books has just slipped by Fritz, and now Wavy E is going to get by Fritz as well. Fritz having a very, very rough go of it on this restart. He's losing time. He now has Boothie working behind him, as does Schuld. Fritz is going to make a dive bomb on Wavy E, thinks better of it, but that sets himself up to be attacked by Boothie going through Sector 2 here. The interval between first and second is less than 6/10 here. Whippy is closing in on the race leader slowly but surely. Snake now has a 3-second time penalty for track violations. And while Whippy is slowly closing in on the leaders, Retro is closing in on Whippy. Cargo has tried. Cargo has done just about everything he needs to, except gotten time penalties when he should have. But it doesn't matter. Retro is overcoming that really, really poor start and is opening up the gap. Whippy was the fastest car. Now Retro is the fastest car. Now Ottawi is the fastest car on the track. So the fastest cars on the track are 5th, then 4th, then 3rd, then 2nd, then 1st. Still no DRS available. Stumpy now has a time penalty for track violations. But he has swapped over to the soft tire compound. He's going to try and go for fastest lap in these closing stages. And yes, DRS has been brought back. We can see the rear flap on Cargo's car engaging, trying to keep him in line with Davi. Whippy has dropped off the back just a little bit. He does not have the advantage of DRS right now. Ottawi now has a time second penalty. Retro trying to make something happen with Whippy. Whippy needs these two drivers at the front to battle and battle hard enough to drag them down to Whippy's level. Whippy just needs to stay within 3 seconds of Cargo and within 8 seconds of Davi in order to take the race win. But Davi is starting to run away from Cargo. Will Davi have enough time to open up 5 seconds on Cargo and 8 seconds on Whippy? That is the question. Cargo needs to be 3 seconds ahead of Retro in order to make up ground. It's no longer become a matter of, hey, you can take back the penalty. It's now becoming a matter of, maintain as much of that points lead, maintain as much of a gap over Retro as can to try and eat into the points lead. Retro has driven a fascinating race today, staying out of trouble. He's now in 4th position and may be en route to get a 2nd or even a win, depending on how the rest of this race falls. Something else of note, Fine Waldo is putting pressure on Tino Farah. Tino has no... Oh, and Herbie has now just abruptly left the session. So now Tino Farah is the only Renault left on the track. Tino Farah and Waldo fighting for points-paying positions for the back. Fritz continues to lose positions. He has now dropped behind Schold, and sooner rather than later, I imagine Turbo will catch up. Excuse me, Stumpy is the only car on the soft tire compounds trying to see if he can make the points happen for fastest car on the track outside of the top 10. And Smish is your last place driver right now. Feast last week with a win to Famine here. It's not gone quite the way it's wanted for Smish. Cargo trying to stay within 5 seconds of Davi. He's opening up the gap on Whippy right now. Right now, Cargo is not far enough ahead of Retro that Cargo would finish ahead of Retro even with the time penalty applied. Books now has a 3-second time penalty for track violations. But the main gap we need to focus on, Davi versus Cargo. If it ends up being 5 seconds in Davi's favor, Davi will win the race. But if it's less than 5 seconds, the position will go to Cargo, and then Cargo needs to be 3 seconds ahead of Whippy. He's very close to doing just that. Once he's 3 seconds ahead of Whippy, it basically becomes a matter of Cargo staying close enough to Davi to win this race today. And yes, the gap is now open to more than 3 seconds between Cargo and Whippy. But that's mainly because you see right there, no, actually, I'm reading that wrong. I'm sorry, I read that wrong completely. So I've been giving you the wrong information. I was reading the timesheets wrong. So no, Cargo is not pulling away from Whippy. In fact, Whippy is actually closed in just a bit. And now Davi has another time penalty for track violations. So Whippy just needs to stay behind Cargo, and he's going to win this race. But it's a lot. We still have a lot of race to go. We still have like 8 laps left. But we honestly can start thinking about that right now. Davi now has what's going to be like 11 seconds worth of penalties. Yeah, he has 11 seconds worth of penalties. Cargo has 3 seconds. Books, 9 seconds worth of penalties, so Books is in a position where he will not take any points by the end of the day. He is fighting with Tino Farah back there for the 8th and 9th positions. And then Boothie, similar position. He's dropped all the way to 11th and has 9 seconds worth of penalties as well. Now, Tino Farah has 3-second penalty. And Stumpy has a 3-second penalty. Retro just cruising behind Whippy for the moment. Whippy, all 3 different engine manufacturers represented in the top 3. The main thing that Whippy would probably want is to get by Cargo, so that way when those mediums start falling away, he is in the defensive position compared to Cargo, who would be in the, if he's in the defensive position on better worn tires, those hards that Cargo is on will be better suited to the end of the race, and Cargo would be in a good spot. So Whippy really is going to want to try to find some way to get by Cargo, but right now, Cargo has been strong enough to hold Whippy behind him. Yellow flag in Sector 2. I believe that is Boothie, who has gone around once more there. He's back underway, but he is losing time again. So the Haas car is struggling very badly here this week. Retro is putting Whippy under some threat as well, because Retro knows if he can get by Whippy, then he wins the race and massively extends his point lead. Whippy, he's going to have DRS. He has DRS on the straights, but the straights aren't long enough for him to close in and make some sort of overtake happen on Cargo. And there we are. DRS opens once more for just the briefest of seconds, and will open once more here. So he has DRS, he's within 6/10, but the straights here are not very long compared to Monza, Spa, Montreal. There's no guarantee that you're going to get an easy overtake in the DRS zones. So Whippy realistically is just trying to do whatever he can to stay right behind Cargo. Again, of note, the tires are going to start going away sooner for Whippy than they will for Cargo. So Whippy just needs to stay right on Cargo within 3 seconds of him and not take any time penalties. And if he can do that, then Whippy will win this race. Davi has an 11 seconds worth of penalties. So although he's 6 seconds ahead of Whippy right now and 5 seconds ahead of Cargo, that's still, he's going to plummet through the field at the end. Luthi is jumping into the pits. He's swapping onto the soft tire compounds. Now it's his turn to try and go for fastest race lap. Fastest single race lap in the race. Yellow flag in sector 2, and that is something that's happened to Tino Farah, I believe. Boy, has something happened to Tino Farah. Going well off the circuit there in the hairpin. Will merge back onto the track sooner rather than later, but is now dropped out of the points-paying positions, and that means we can move Schold up into the 10th spot. Davi on the mediums, he has opened up over 5 seconds worth over Cargo, but he needs to add another 3 seconds over Cargo in order to make this race happen for him, and he needs to be 11 seconds total ahead of Whippy. And Whippy just needs to ignore the aliens of the tires as this race falls away, and he needs to stay on Cargo's rear bumper, or at least within 3 seconds of Cargo. Retro just needs to stay within 3 seconds of Cargo as well in order to extend his point lead. Right now, for these 3 drivers, it's going to be the defining moment of the season for them. Retro coming back from what was a horrible qualifying session with the wrong setup car to what looks like might be a podium. Cargo, he may have a chance to get a win and take back the points if he can open up a gap on Whippy in the final few laps. Whippy is seriously in contention for this race victory. Of note also, Retro and Whippy are on the same tire compound. They're both running mediums. So, yeah. Also of note, a little bit farther back on the field, Wavy E, he's 9th right now. He has hard tire compounds, cleaner track ahead of him as well. He will start opening up a gap on the driver behind him, Schold, as this race comes down to the last 2 or 3 laps. This track very, very abrasive on tires, very, very rough to make a real good pace. Tino Farah has swapped on to the soft tire compounds, but again, being over 38 seconds out of the points, obviously it's a challenge there to try and get for the fastest points, fastest in-race lap. Cargo 6 seconds off from Davi. Davi needs to be 8 seconds ahead of Cargo in order to hold the position over Cargo, and 11 seconds over Whippy. Whippy has dropped off the back of Cargo just a little bit now. DRS opens once more for Whippy, and that's keeping him within range of Cargo. He's right there. In fact, he's going to make the move. They're going to make a little bit of contact, and he goes off the circuit. He saw the chance. He went for it. Now Retro is all over Whippy. That move did not serve Retro's interests very well. He's going to want to get by Whippy so that way he himself can be right behind Cargo. And Whippy is now dropped to over a second off of Cargo. There are other battles going on the track, don't get me wrong, but this is the true interesting battle right now. 6 seconds out for Cargo on Davi. Davi needs to find another 2 seconds in these last 2 laps if he wants to hold the position. Whippy is losing Cargo. He needs to stay within 3 seconds of Cargo if he wants a chance to win this. It's 4 laps to go. But the gap between Whippy and Cargo is already about 1. It's less than 1, actually. He had DRS there. So he's back in it. Davi, another 3-second time penalty. For all intents and purposes, Davi's chance at winning this race is out. He is not only losing time, but he is now adding more penalties to himself. The hard tire compounds are working for Cargo. He is not dropping off. In fact, he's closing in on Davi as Davi's car is slipping away from him. Tino Farah, fastest lap, 138.902. Whippy just needs to stay behind Cargo like this, and he cannot add a time penalty. If Whippy adds a time penalty, it's over for him. He has DRS. He's back to using DRS to just try and stay behind Cargo. You can see Davi right ahead of him. I wonder if Davi may have damage on that car. Yes, Davi has damaged the front wing of the car, and the entire field has now, well, the entire lead pack has bunched up behind him now. This could be the chance that they were looking for. Cargo now has clean air taken away from him. Retro has to move over. Davi's trying to struggle to make it, and now Whippy is in a position he may be able to get DRS on the leader. Both of the leaders have DRS, but Whippy is going to make it. Whippy is going to make the overtake. He's still not on the inside. They're neck and neck going to turn number 1. Cargo is still fighting back, and Cargo is going to go back in the top slot. Now Retro is there trying to make something happen. It's 3 laps to go. Whippy needs to stay within 3 seconds of Cargo. Can he do it? Ottawi has caught Retro. Ottawi needs to make something happen for his teammate. He's going to start putting pressure on Retro as well now. And Whippy has made it. Whippy is making the move. They're neck and neck, and Whippy goes to the top spot. And now here comes the battle between the championship contenders. Retro has caught Cargo. Retro has no time penalties. Cargo does. Whippy just needs to open up the gap right now. He's going to win a race here in X3. And the battle for the points has gotten extremely intense. There's only 4 points in Retro's favor going into this race. He wants to extend that and extend it massively. If he can just stay right on Cargo, the fact that Retro has no points, no time penalties will allow him to gain second position and extend his points lead. But he has Ottawi, the teammate of Cargo, behind him, and Ottawi is going to do everything he can to try and pressure Retro into making a mistake, whether it be running wide and losing time, whether it be violating track limits and getting a penalty of his own. Ottawi is going to be the biggest player right now in the championship battle, despite the fact that he himself is not a direct contributor to the title fight. Also, the teammate of Fine Waldo, that's Retro's teammate, he is now beginning to close in on this battle for a lead also. If Waldo can close in on Ottawi, he can put pressure on Ottawi, which will reduce the pressure that Ottawi will put on Retro, meaning that Retro can go full bore on Cargo or just staying on the back of Cargo. But for Whippy, it's 2 laps to go. He is in the lead. Books another time penalty. But we may see Whippy come down and win here at the streets of Singapore. Retro just trying to stay in line behind Cargo. He knows that he is right now in place to finish second, while Cargo will be third. Retro and Whippy are the only 2 drivers to not have time penalties in the top 10. Wavy E, fastest time, 1:37. The track is at the fastest it's been all race long. Cargo has caught Whippy again. The hard tires have served Cargo very well. But he has a penalty. He needs to fight for the race win, and he needs to somehow open up a massive gap on Retro. He's on Whippy. He needs this win, or at least to fight for the win to get it. Whippy just needs to stay within Cargo's reach, within 3 seconds of him in order to win this race. Same thing for Retro. The thing is, if something happens between Cargo and Whippy. Retro would be right there. If Retro overtakes Whippy, then Whippy's chance at winning this race is over. Ottawi and Retro are now dropping off the back of the leaders just a hair. Cargo is right there behind Whippy. He will have DRS on the front stretch as they're coming down to the white flag. One last circuit. Ferrari engine, Mercedes engines fighting, all being led by the Honda engine that Whippy is sporting in that car. His teammate Patriot DNF has had a very bad time. Davi, another 3-second time penalty. His race has gone absolutely horrible. So while one Red Bull absolutely collapses in the day, the other one is coming back and may take home his first victory this year. But it's not going to be easy. He needs to keep it off the wall. This track may not be quite as difficult as Monaco, but it's still very, very treacherous. The walls can snap out and grab you if you're not perfect on the track. Retro is still within 3 seconds of Cargo. Ottawi and Fine Waldo now have a battle going on between them. Neck and neck, and Ottawi has lost his place to Fine Waldo. And that's going to change how the race goes down in the Manufacturers' Championship battle. It's the last lap. They're in the final sector. It's just going to be a series of 90-degree corners for our top 3 cars. Cargo, everything he has done has been for his benefit, except for the time penalties. But it's not going to help. It's not going to work out. He's going to lose ground to Retro, and Retro is going to bounce back from not even making Q3 to potentially extending his points lead. It's the last lap, the last corner. XRL Whippy will come across the line and will win his first career race. Retro finishes second, Cargo third. Stumpy ends up wrecking and totaling the car farther back on the circuit there. I'm not sure what happened, and we'll see hopefully as Ruthie comes by. Fine Waldo will come home in fourth, and Ottawi fifth, and yeah, Stumpy ruins the car at the last possible second while chasing the fastest time on the track. Wade McGee will come by, he will come home ninth, with Davi will barely come home 10th. Turbo in the Ferrari, he's on the hards, will only be able to get in 11th, so neither Ferrari scores points after scoring a truckload last week. Oh, and Tino Farbs in the wall again has damaged the car even further. Here's Fritz, more damage on his car as well. Smish is actually close enough that Fritz doesn't get everything right. Oh, Smish has damage on his wing as well. Boothie is not. But an absolute masterclass, though, from XRL Whippy. And now Fritz has another time penalty. Christ. But your winner is XRL Whippy. He has brought home a victory, not only off the back of not having penalties, but he made the outright pass for the win on track, on tires that were wearing thin relatively quickly. He made it work and then put on the defense of his life. XRL Whippy is your race winner. And for Retro, it is the possibly defining race of the season for him. If he wins this championship, he will definitely point back to this race as the defining reason for that. And the game gives Scholl the driver of the day, and I could agree with that. Scholl didn't even get to run qualifying, he still brought home points. But absolutely amazing. And there is your race winner, Whippy. Whippy on the Red Bull camp. The Red Bulls had some wins earlier when they had a sub-driver coming in, and when that sub-driver came in, the entire Red Bull team started coming to life, earning points, making it to Q3 relatively consistently, and we're seeing the culmination as Whippy has now joined Red Bull and bring the list of Red Bull drivers to bring that team into victory lane here. I'm going to try to talk to both our winner and our second place finisher here, because both of them absolutely outstanding runs. These will be season-defining runs for them. No, that's not what I wanted. So for Whippy and Retro, we're going to try and invite both of them in to the party here so we can hear what they have to say about their races. But an absolutely fantastic race here at Singapore. All right, here we are, coming into the party right now. In the party right now, in the broadcast booth, it is your race winner, XRL Whippy. Whippy, it's been a very rough season, but you've turned it around. You have won here on the streets of Singapore. Congratulations, include your audio. What do you have to say? I'll say this: we've been following in the broadcast booth. We've been following you and the entire Red Bull team and the struggles you've had all year long. Then midway through the season, your team started putting the races together, started pulling off wins, and now you have brought them to victory lane once more. Absolutely, congratulations, man. Retro, I'll talk to you real quickly. Just please stand by for a moment. But no, I'll say this. I have to ask this though, Whippy. You were in the you were fighting for the top position. Were you aware that the leader, Cargo, well, not leader, but second place ahead of you, Cargo, had a time penalty when you were fighting with him? I'm sorry. Well, actually, both of you. For both Retro and Whippy, in those final few laps, while you were fighting with Cargo for those top spots, were you aware that Cargo had a time penalty that you two did not? Mm. Well, you changed that from a net lead to an outright lead. You made two huge dive bomb moves, and the second one went off swimmingly. I couldn't believe it when I saw you making it the second time around. I thought you were going to play it safe, but you made a hell of a pass. But anyways, once again, Whippy, I've just got to say congratulations. I've been very glad to see everything's finally come together for you and getting that victory. Mm-hmm. All right, and now I'm going to turn my focus to Retro. Retro, bad car setup going into qualifying, didn't even make it into Q3, started in the middle of the field, and then lost a bunch of positions at the start. You rebounded, you're now second, and you're going to increase your points lead. How did you make that race work at all? But Retro, the biggest thing is coming back from the craziest levels of adversity. You've been a mainstay of Q3 most of the season. You don't even make it into Q3, the darkest moment. It's not a true victory, but you basically snatched victory from the jaws of defeat. I'm curious if you agree, but I think if you win this championship this year, this race will be the defining moment of your title. My party crash. Oh, okay. Alright. But anyways, yeah, if any of you two have anything else you want to say before I start wrapping up the broadcast, go ahead. Both of you put on impressive runs all day today. Nope, Retro's going to go ahead and back out. I will say this real quickly to Whippy and Retro, who I imagine is still listening. Both of you two were the only two drivers at the front of the field to not have time penalties, so in the end, keeping it clean really paid off for you two. But anyways, that's going to wrap up our broadcast here at Singapore. A long race, a chaotic race, leads to a very, very, very interesting finish with a first-time winner this year and a massive, massive swing in the points. But anyways, I've been Sane Leader 13. The series will be going through a 2-week break for Christmas and New Year's. We will come back in the new year 2021 with race 16 as they start wrapping up the XRL X3 title. I look forward to seeing you all then. Whoop.